Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being so patient with me. As you may have seen from the title of today's video, I just wanted to do a bit of a get ready with me whilst I talk about a few things that I've learned this year. I'm going to try and get to 12 lessons, 12 months. I feel like I did some growing this year. I feel like in other years I may have grown differently, and so this growth, it feels different. I think sometimes we feel like growth has to be linear. I feel like growth is sometimes just this rocky road. But yeah, I thought that's what I wanted to do today, so we will get right into the beat. So one of the first things that I feel like I've learned this year is how important it is to make memories. I feel like my whole life I've kind of been waiting for this big thing to occur before I start enjoying life and just living to the fullest of my potential. However, I feel like this year I've just learned, you know what, do it for the plot. Do it for the plot, but obviously behave yourself. I've done a few things like the jet skiing knowing damn well I don't know how to swim. Like, we praise God that I actually came out of that alive and well. Just like traveling, going out for drinks, things like that. Before, I had this mindset of one, like, save money, and two, I just felt like, ugh, what's the point? Like, there's always gonna be drinks to be had, there's always going to be a birthday to go to. But I feel like this year I made a much more conscious effort to attend these things, to like be present with people. It's really just helped me to just grow as a person. I value quality time a lot more than I have in the past. I feel like I've always been ignorant to the idea of everyone's going to be there tomorrow. I've kind of taken a step back and I've realized how much I love being around people. To a certain extent, I still love my space, not gonna lie, but I've also learned the value of memories and sometimes also just being in the moment. There have been so many holidays that I've been on this year, and there's a moment where I'm like, this is a great moment to like vlog. At the same time, I tell myself, I just want to be here. When I went to Ghana a couple weeks ago, I barely vlogged because we weren't really doing anything that exciting. It was literally just a chill holiday, but also because it was just quality time with like good people. I did vlog like certain aspects of it, but I was more so just being and just like having, shits and gigs. I feel like that's the first thing that I can say that I've truly learned this year. Now, for number two, kind of leading on from number one, I feel like this year I've just learned how much my friendships mean to me. So this year I basically moved out. I'm not 100% there yet. It's just me on my Jack Jones. I don't feel like I can say that I've felt like a sense of loneliness. I feel like it's more so this idea, like, really and truly, no one can get to me within an hour. Like, it's gonna take you forever to find me. Knowing that now has made me realize I'm grateful for the people that reach out and we have actual conversations on the phone. I don't need to see my friends. I haven't seen some of my friends for a hot minute, and I'm okay with that. So long as I know you're alive and well, we talk once in a while, I feel like that works best for me. My friends that, make conscious effort to like reach out and just check in on me, I really do love and cherish you. I feel like it got to a point where in a lot of my friendships, I was always the first to call. It kind of just felt like, I might have beg. It kind of just felt a little bit like, if I don't call, you don't call. But I can see that, one, I feel like I just needed to understand that not everyone thinks the same way as I do. But also, I feel like people are growing at the same time that you're growing. And so it might take someone a little bit longer to understand the kind of person you are, which is completely fine. And I just feel like my friendships that I have are definitely not one-sided at all. I've definitely gotten to a place where everything is reciprocated, which I love. I do feel like, especially with the work that I do, I've gotten to a place where I understand that everyone has a life. Everyone has their roles and responsibilities. Everyone has different ways of like dealing with things. And so if you don't understand that, it can lead you to have certain feelings about things. But once you understand that everyone's just trying to get through life, it may be a hot sec before you talk to someone. They just got their own stuff that they're dealing with, really and truly. And I know, because I've done it before, that when you're in a situation where you feel like you can't talk to anyone about it or kind of just want to handle it on your own, you don't see anything else but the problem. So it can be so hard to like acknowledge the fact that maybe I may not be the best friend right now, but it's just important to understand that these things happen and it doesn't come from a place of like hate or anything. I used to be really emotional when I felt like my friendships were one-sided. I feel like people who have met me will be so shocked when I say this, but I find it really hard to make friends because of like how I am as a person, and also like, Secondary school's arse. Anyone who says they misses secondary school, you're on your own. I don't miss secondary school one bit. I do, however, miss my second time doing sixth form. I feel like if I had to go back and do anything education related, that's what I would go back to. There was just drama and unnecessary commotion, and I just wasn't here for it. And I went to an all-girls school, so that really put me off making friends. I just, like, if I made a friend, cool, but even then, making a friend, it takes a lot for me to say, oh my god, that's my friend. I don't know if everyone's genuine. I think that's just a me problem. I feel like I've broken that barrier a little bit, and also I've made actual friends in the workplace. When I started my role, I went in with this thing of, this is a professional workplace. I've got to make sure that all of my relationships in the workplace are strictly professional and no one needs to know what I've been doing outside of work. And I feel like, especially with the course that I'm on and the people in my course, that was never going to be the case. There are some amazing people which I am so glad to have met, and I'm so glad that they are my friends. Anyways, that's all just to say, kind of went out of my comfort zone to make new friends, as well as just understanding the value and importance of having friends. I do feel like next year I do want to spend more time with my friends in person. I feel like this year has been a virtual year with friends. The next thing that I feel like I have really learned this year is gratitude and why you should be grateful. I feel like it's something that I have learned this year, but also I still have a long way to go for. I think just a lot of time alone has allowed for me to reflect on this journey called life, you know what I mean? I'm not the type of person to let my past define me. I just feel like we all go through stuff. We've all got a past, we've all got something going on. I am learning that I am an emotional person. I feel like because I didn't often get emotional about certain things and then I'd get over emotional about other things, I just felt like I was broken. Because I wouldn't get emotional about certain things, I would think I'm not emotional enough. And then because I get over emotional about other things, I'd think I'm just hormonal. Side note, learning about your period and the different phases has to be one of the best things that you could do for yourself, because it helps you to understand why you're feeling this, especially at that moment. Because a situation could happen, and if it happened earlier on in the month, you would have been completely fine. But because it's happening at this particular week, your hormones are a lot higher and you're feeling a lot more emotions. So just food for thought, tracking my period has been a real help in understanding my emotions. But separately, what I was saying was this idea of gratitude. I just feel like I'm not one to let my past define me, because I know everyone has their own thing going on. So sometimes I kind of block out everything that's ever happened to me, all the bad stuff, and just think, well, everyone has their own thing that they're going through, so it's normal and it's fine. And I feel like through counselling sessions that I've had, I've kind of realised that I've taken certain things for granted. And I'll be honest, even now there are still some days where I do take those things for granted, but I feel like I'm learning to be more present and to be more understanding, and just to realise, even though X, Y, and Z didn't go very well, there are other things that I'm so grateful to have. And just this idea of, because I'm such a goal setter and I'm always looking to improve myself, sometimes I kind of forget about where I've come from and how far I've come. But at the same time, I'm trying not to think about that, because it's like, if you let that define you, then how are you going to move forward? Kind of an internal battle, but I feel like I'm learning to be more appreciative of not only the things that I have and the position that I'm in, but also people around me. It's been an emotional one, and I'm not going to cry. You are. I'm just really happy to be the person that I am. And I'll be honest, some days it does feel like, what the actual hell is going on? But I am grateful for the position that I'm in. Hold on guys, my lips are looking a little bit dry. Let's put on a bit of lip. And one thing that I've also noticed is focusing on what you have and what you can do makes life so much better. If you are constantly having this battle of, but I don't have this and I'm not this person, you will forever be chasing that person, and you won't stop to notice when you've become that person, because in your head you always had this mentality of, I'm not that person, that's the person that I want to be. So when you do eventually get to this place of becoming the person that you want to be, you won't even notice it. And I loved, there's a trend on TikTok, I don't think it's around anymore, but it's this idea of, I'm becoming the girl that my 10-year-old self would stare at on the bus. And it's so true. I'll take a video and I'm just thinking, damn, not only do I look hot, but also so shocked that this is who I am. It's just so surreal that little Elizabeth is now big Elizabeth and she's thriving. And I feel like thriving can sometimes feel temporary because of the slumps that come along with thriving, but I think it's all part of it. Anyways, I feel like I'm waffling with that point, so I'm gonna move on. Now, this next thing that I've learned, I feel like has definitely been my favorite lesson this year, because I didn't even know it was a lesson that I needed to learn. Did you know lying is a sin? Mitigating the truth, however you want to put it, it is lying and it's a sin. Thou shalt not sin. It was one of the commandments. I feel like lying has just become so normalized, whether it's a little white lie of, yeah, I've definitely finished that task that you asked me to do a week ago, or the lies we used to tell our parents about our whereabouts. Like, that was all very much a sin. I'm not going to lie, I have dug holes for myself this year simply from lying. I used to tell myself, yeah, I'm just mitigating the truth for now, and when the time, oh girl, what is going on? When the time is right, you know, I will say the truth. That has done nothing but harm me in so many ways. I got addicted to lying. Like, maybe addicted is not the right word, but it just became my norm of like, even little things. I can't even give you an example right now because it was just so stupid. Things that didn't need to be a lie, or just kind of fabricating the truth or zhuzhing it up a little bit, is just, it just became so normal. From my lying, I dug serious holes for myself to the point where the truth had to come out. And I literally felt like I was gonna die. Looking back on it, guys, had I just told the truth in the first place, nothing bad would have happened. Nothing bad would have happened. I then put it off for so long, it eventually came round and I had to say the truth about what I did. I didn't do anything illegal. I very much, you know, I'm a good girl. But yeah, so the truth had to come out. And I felt like I had been fooling myself all year round of, well, technically, if I don't say anything, then that's not lying because the person just doesn't know what it is and like what I've done. That is basically another form of lying. Like, let's be real, like not saying the truth or not saying anything at all is basically lying. So yeah, eventually I had to tell the truth, and it was so hard for me to do, but I did it, and by God's grace, like everything was well, and you know, I didn't die. I was just being dramatic, and you know, the world still went about. In doing that, I feel like I just learned in that moment, I have to stop lying. Like, I have to stop mitigating the truth. I have to stop fabricating things. It just isn't cute. It's just causing me more stress. I was breaking out because of lies, and I just found myself like, if I was about to get myself into a bit of trouble, I just thought to myself, well, I could just lie. I could just, you know, quickly hide the truth for a while before I felt comfortable to say what I wanted to say, when it's like, you can just say what you want to say. No one's going to come and harm you. And I feel like it starts from little things, like you've picked up the phone for your parent and they're like, yeah, say I'm in the shower, say I'm doing this and that. Yeah, it's something small, but it's like, but what was the need? And I feel like I had carried that and I had used it as like a quick, easy fix, when really and truly in the long run, even though it seems so small, it can just cascade, and you don't want that for yourself. The pressure of upkeeping a lie, I can guarantee you, is so much worse than just telling the truth. I feel like I've just genuinely learned lying is just a sin. When something becomes so normal, you kind of forget, oh, this is actually a bad thing. I'm in a place where if I find myself fabricating the truth, I'm going back. I'm saying, you know what, that didn't actually happen. If you're telling a story about something that happened, sometimes you want to add a bit more juice, a bit more detail. When I catch myself doing that, I'm like, you know what, no, that's not what happened. Let's go back and let's fix it. And I feel like that's really helped me. And when it comes to the bigger, and I tell myself, oh my God, it was so much easier if I just say this. I tell myself, if it comes out that you aren't being truthful, what does that mean? So the next point I want to touch on is putting things off, and why putting things off will never be fruitful. I have this tendency to see a message and just tell myself, yep, I'll get to it, and I will forget to get to it, or it'll be in the back of my mind. I'm just like, I'm finding the right moment, and eventually a day has passed, 3 days has passed, a week has passed, 2 weeks has passed, and that person is still waiting for my message. Kind of just like backburnered it. I feel like in people understanding that that's the kind of person I am has helped me to not be that person. And I feel like procrastination has been a hindrance to me in other aspects of my life. If I know that there's a deadline for a task, I'm 100% going to make sure that it is done before that deadline. However, if there isn't a deadline, it just makes it like, so I can essentially do this whenever, and so it won't be my top priority. I won't be working on it because it's like there's no deadline. And it started to impact my work because I'd eventually get something that has a deadline, and it's like, I've got to do this as soon as possible, and the other things get put on a back burner. And then my manager asks me, have you done this? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I haven't done this, because there was no deadline. And especially when you've got annual leave booked is when you then start to realize, I've got to get this stuff done before I go because it's been dragging on for a while. I've just learned putting things off and procrastinating does nothing good for you, and I've tried to be more conscious in finishing things that I start. As we speak right now, I was renovating my living room. I haven't fully finished. I still need to paint one wall, but for some reason I've moved on to the hallway. Why don't you just finish that and you can tick it off your list? It's because there's no deadline, there's no sense of urgency. I'm starting to realize that there doesn't need to necessarily be a sense of urgency for you to do something. Just do it, because then that thing is always on your mind, and then you always feel overwhelmed. And really and truly, there is a lot of time to do a lot of things, but if you're the type of person who you are juggling 101 things because you don't want to fully close something, that's the problem. That's the reason why you're not being productive. And also, I've just never been a closure person. I just never seem to want to fully finish something. I feel like this year I'm just learning closure, as well as like not putting things off, just in different aspects of my life. Once you realize that putting stuff off just causes a lot more stress, you have that sense of urgency to do it, so you're not continuously thinking about it. So I am really trying to integrate that into like all aspects of my life and get to a position where I'm someone who finishes things, you know, way before they need to be done, just so it's off my plate. I feel like I'm on track to do that. Kind of tied to my point of not putting things off, I feel like one of the reasons why we put things off is because we feel like we don't have an answer, when really and truly there is genuinely an answer for everything. I find myself often thinking, oh my god, how am I going to do this? This is impossible. And I'm such a hyperbole person. I'm naturally someone who just exaggerates over the tiniest thing. And so when I don't have the immediate answer, I just think, oh my god, this is impossible and I cannot do this. Everything has an answer, everything has a solution. You've just got to find the solution. Oh my god, what is this? You've just got to take the time to actually find that solution. This is low-key. I don't know if it's looking ashy or pink. I don't know just yet. I kind of wanted to do orange. One thing about me, I'm gonna put that blush on. There's just a solution to everything. There is always an answer, even if it takes a while for you to find that answer. Just give it a bit of time. Think about possible solutions, try them out. I feel like certain things are put off because I'm looking for the most suitable solution, and sometimes you're not going to know when that solution comes about until you've tried other things that didn't work out. And you get to this resolution of, okay, so this is the right thing to do. I feel like she could be a bit more pink. I feel like I could add just a bit more pink. Yeah. I was just saying, it can be very easy to put things off because we feel like there is no solution, but 9 times out of 10, there is always a solution. It's just about taking the time to actually figure out what that is and what that looks like, and then executing it. Especially having spent a year in the corporate world, I've realized that sometimes the solution requires other people's help, and being the kind of person I am, I've always felt the need to be independent. And if you can't figure something out on your own, it means that you're not doing a good job, which is a very toxic mindset to have, because it sometimes isolates you. It just means that you're going to take hours and hours, days, weeks to do something, when if you had just asked the right person, you would have the answer. I feel like that sums up the point that I'm trying to make. This next one, we're going to get deep for a second, I feel like. So this year, I feel like one of the biggest things that I learned is letting go. So at the very beginning of this year, I had a conversation with my situationship. It was an unexpected conversation. When I say it was unexpected, I think I didn't expect the way I ended that conversation. If you've ever been in a situationship, it's a situationship because it's way too much to be a friendship and it's not enough to be a relationship. And I feel like last year I kind of realized that if I was to become the person that I wanted to become, I would have to let go of certain things. I think I knew that, but I didn't want to have to actually do that. So we had that conversation. I remember being so devastated. I knew I had done the right thing, but I felt like arse, guys. I don't think I've cried as hard since. It felt like something that I would never do. Truthfully, I never thought I'd have to do that. And when I did it, I felt like, what the flip have I just done? And there was a little voice in me that said, it's gonna be okay. But there was a larger voice saying, what the actual hell? And I remember sitting in my living room, bawling my eyes out. I'm not gonna lie. And I said, God, I need this year to be a year where I don't feel this type of pain. I don't go back to him, and that something inside me clicks. I have a tendency to block people. However, I didn't block him because I knew that if I blocked him, I would give myself a reason to unblock him. Whereas if you're just on socials together and he's there but he's not messaging me, when you block someone, you will spend the whole time thinking, what if they did try and reach out to me, but they can't reach out to me because I've blocked them? Don't block. That will show you that they have you on socials and they're just not reaching out. So that's a conscious decision that they've decided to make, which is why I'd highly recommend don't block them, just have them there, and you will realize that they have no intention of reaching out. So all of this is to say, I really learned that I had to let go, and it was a very difficult thing to do. I'm not gonna lie, because you know when you just spent so much time investing yourself with someone, it feels like shit to let go. However, one, it was never gonna work. Guys, it was never gonna work. I was actually being delusional. I think when you have known each other for a while, you kind of let the history that you have with them be the reason you stay. It does you no favors or whatsoever, because history doesn't mean anything. You could know someone for 15 years and have them hurt you. You could know someone for 1 year and know that that's the person that you want to be with for the rest of your life. So I feel like that is the letting go that had to be done. I have not been in contact with him since. I think in the past I've made excuses for myself and just make sure that he's alive and well. Girl, they're always alive and well. Trust me. Carry on doing what you want to do because they haven't reached out to you. Now, I'm not gonna lie, he is blocked because I'm with the love of my life. I don't want you on my phone. Now, the second thing that I had to let go of this year was my business. I ran a business called Made by Mammoth. It was a makeup and lash service, and it was my pride and joy. If I wanted to be known for anything out of the million things that I've done, it was Made by Mammoth, because it was something I genuinely started at such a young age, and it gave me so much confidence in the person that I am today to do other things. It just was my little baby. She was my pride and joy. Looking back, I feel like I was too scared to really delve deep into it, but I feel like for what I'd done in the space of time that I'd done it, I was super proud of myself. Unfortunately, this year, not really unfortunately, to be very honest, this year I made the decision to close my business. I closed it with a slight intention that I may reopen it. However, having made it to the end of the year, I just feel like that part of my life and that phase of who I was is being left in this year. I loved every single part of it, but when I look onto who I am and who I want to be, that just wasn't in the cards. I moved out of London. I started a full-time role, and those were the things that I could see myself doing 5 years from now. Not being in London, working full-time, those were things that I saw. Although I loved my business, the flexibility was there to a certain extent, but I still did feel that I was restricted in taking up other interests. Granted, not much has changed since closing my business, but I feel like it served its purpose in who I am today. It's taught me so much, but like I said, I feel like it's a part of me that I'm ready to close, just so I have a bit more freedom to do things that are for me, myself, and I, which sounds a bit selfish, but really and truly, at the end of the day, we are all just doing things for ourselves. That's just one of the things that I had to let go. Letting go is not easy. It takes a lot of willpower. It takes a lot of strength to say, this is something that I'm gonna have to go through life without. It's painful to do, but sometimes it has to be done to help you to be the person that you have always wanted to be. The next thing that I feel like I have definitely learned, other people have feelings. The world, to a certain extent, it does revolve around me. My world revolves around me, but other people actually have lives and have feelings. It's important to acknowledge those feelings at the very least, and then sometimes make decisions based on those feelings. I'm quite an independent person. I've kind of had this me against them mentality for a very long time, and whilst I feel like it's helped me to get to certain places and be my own person, I feel like it's also meant that sometimes I don't think about others. If I know the situation calls for me to be respectful of other people's feelings, I can 100% do that. But when it's a situation where it's my feelings and someone else's feelings, I often found myself choosing me, which kind of a very natural thing to do, but also it's not necessarily always the right thing to do. Do you get what I mean? Sometimes other people are feeling a type of way towards what you've done. Sometimes you need to take a step back and see, maybe I am the problem. I like to kid and say I'm never the problem, but I feel like this year I've definitely learned to take other people's feelings into consideration and also accepting where I've gone wrong. And I have definitely made sure that if I'm making a decision that not only impacts myself, that I take other people's feelings and try and see things from other people's perspectives. Because when you put yourself in someone else's shoes, you then understand this is how a person might be feeling, or sometimes just think, if I was in that position, how would I feel? Really helps you to understand, damn, maybe this isn't the best choice, or maybe let's do it like this. So it means that other people also feel comfortable. One thing about me is I love a bright, fuck off under eye. I just think overall, understanding other people's perspective in the workplace, with my relationship with other people, has helped me to grow holistically. I just feel like it's made me a better all-rounded person. That one's a bit of a tiny lesson that I feel like I've learned. My next one kind of contradicts what I've just said, which is you have to learn to protect your peace. Now, like I've said, I've moved out, but not moved out entirely. And also this year I got into some counselling sessions. I just feel like I needed to learn how to communicate with people when I'm feeling overwhelmed, and also learn to set boundaries. One of my goals this year that was on my mood board was to learn to protect my peace and to be a little bit more selfish with my time and the things that I enjoyed. I may have taken keeping my peace a little bit too far, to the point where I was just ignoring anyone and everyone. I felt like that's what it meant to keep your peace. Sometimes keeping your peace is keeping quiet. Sometimes keeping your peace means saying you're going to remove yourself from this situation. Sometimes keeping your peace looks like saying, I'm going to resolve this so that I know I can get a good night's sleep. Keeping your peace doesn't mean ignoring everyone. That's not what it means. It means that you are respectful of other people, but you also respect yourself. And I just feel like that's something that I've really learnt and taught myself this year. I've been actively trying to set boundaries, as well as be respectful of other people, but also respect myself. One thing that I've always said to myself is I value respect, but I didn't realize that you also need to respect yourself and what you hold dear to you. That's just something that I've definitely learned this year. I do think that going into 2026, which sounds crazy, I do feel that I can set a bit more boundaries, especially in the workplace, of okay, these are the commitments I have, so I can only allocate X amount of time at this time, or I can get this to you by this date because I've got other things going on. It's something that I feel like I could definitely work on. But also my relationship with people around me, of I can't actually do this, I can't give you this time because I'm doing X, Y, and Z, and not feeling bad about saying that is something that I really want to work on. When you give yourself the time that you need, you're actually a better person, because you have, had the time to do what you wanted to do, and also acknowledge that, okay, I may not be able to help you now, but I can definitely work to, you know, support you at this time, or I can see you at this time. I feel like it's something that I definitely want to hone in on in 2026. I'm not gonna lie, this blush combo is absolutely delectable. Damn, maybe just a little bit more, just a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, I am using the James Charles Morphe palette because sometimes that's the blush that I want, like that's the color. This was like my first time using blush. This palette was my first time using blush, and she's been an OG. Sometimes this is the blush look that I want, like The next thing that I really want to talk about is this idea of luck. Sometimes I say like, oh, I got lucky, or oh my god, that's so lucky. Babe, there is no such thing as luck. I just feel like there is no such thing as luck. My camera died halfway through filming, so I'm just gonna quickly recap what I was saying about luck. I just don't think luck is a thing. I feel that, one, I'm a religious person. I don't think luck exists because everything happens for a reason, and that God has a plan for us, and that's the reason why certain things happen. It's not because we got lucky. What I do believe in is that we all have this plan that God has planned out for us, and that's why certain things happen and we think, oh my gosh, how could this happen to me? It happened to you because God said it was going to happen to you. Because there's been a few situations this year and last year, and I just thought to myself, wow, I was so lucky. But upon reflection, I'm starting to realize that it's not luck, it's a plan that God has. That was my point to do with luck. So now my second to last point is, you see this love thing, yeah? Oh my days. So I'm in a relationship, which is so crazy. Damn, how did this happen? I love love, I always have. And I feel like this year I have been able to understand what it feels like to be loved, to be truly seen, your flaws and all, and to still have someone say, you're the person that I want to be with. I do feel like it's such a beautiful thing to experience. I feel like social media has a very good way, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm guilty of making relationships seem like it's all rainbows. Relationships take a lot of work. You can't say you're going to be in a relationship and not expect for it to require a lot of work. Work in the sense of spending that quality time with each other. Work in the sense of being patient with one another, communicating, explaining, being understanding, opening up. It requires all of these things. I feel like social media makes it seem that a relationship is going out to dinner, which I'm not going to lie, that's the part of my relationship that I sometimes choose to post. The part that you don't see is the staying up and sorting through something, crying because you've opened up, because those moments aren't moments that you're going to sit there and record. So it can be very easy from anyone on the outside looking in to think it's all roses. And I think any healthy relationship is one where you're both growing and learning things about one another. And also, in saying that, I feel like nowadays also in relationships, people are just in it for the sake of being in a relationship. Is there a goal? Is there some kind of point that you guys want to get to say this is, you know, worthwhile? A lot of people are in relationships for the sake of just being with someone. I've never been in a relationship, but I'm super glad that the first one that I am in will be the only one. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. But also it's one where we're both aligned on what we're looking for with each other. I feel like this love thing, guys, is all cute, but it's work, and you have to constantly choose each other every single day, and that's the only way you're gonna get something fruitful. I'm gonna take out these heatless curls and be extremely disappointed, but let's see. I mean, they're not too bad. Let me put a little bit of serum in them to just gloss it up. The curls don't look that bad, they actually look pretty decent. I'm just going to close off with my last point, which I just feel like I'm learning every single day, not just this year, but it's something that I'm continuously learning. This thing of life has no manual. There is no rule book of this is how to be successful. Success looks completely different for each and every single one of us, and life looks completely different for all of us. Again, linking to the idea of God has a plan for each and every one of us. what I can go through, someone else will not be able to do, and what someone else is going through, I would not be able to do. At the end of the day, we'll get to a place in life where we feel that we are successful, and that could look completely different. And I think that's the beauty of it all. Oh, this one little hair is bothering me. I think that's the beauty of it all, and I just feel like no one should be hard on themselves because their success doesn't look like what everyone else's looks like. Even all of these Instagrammers and influencers that are on socials, all of them have different stories of how they got to. So what's stopping you from achieving what you want to do? Don't look at anyone else. Don't look left and right. Look at you and what you're doing. I promise you, you will get there. And also just be patient with yourself. I feel like is also very important to know. But yeah, that is a wrap. Those are the lessons that I feel like I've really learned this year. I'm super happy with the way my makeup turned out as well. Giving classy, preppy, especially with this top. That's kind of where I'm gonna leave off. Thank you very much for watching. If you've made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you, and I am now gonna go and start my day. This is the time, guys. I'm not even gonna talk about it. Anyways, thank you very much, and I will see you next time. Ciao.